So when I first started doing Patriots Must Rise, I was extremely down on my situation. I had lost all use of my left hand, which I brought up a lot in the early episodes, which you can find on Spotify. But I learned something since then. People tend, and myself included, to blame everybody but ourselves for the bad situations in our lives. And I think that's really where the African American projection of racism comes from in America. We don't have a real wide range racism problem. What we have is a self-persecution problem, where for generations people have been told that everybody's out to get you because of your skin color. Well, while there are instances that might actually be true, the bulk of the instances with a cop, for instance, comes from people getting into a situation where they're panicking. They started attacking the cop, or the cop feels threatened in some way. I've been law enforcement in some way or another all of my life, so I know from what I'm talking. You don't actually know what you're going to do until you actually come into the situation. That's why people say cooperate, do everything that the cop asks within your rights. And I do stand up for people's rights as far as not having to give an officer your ID. They have no right to know. Period. Across the nation, they have no right to know. I was a US Marshal. I became very well versed in all of the different states' regulations. But the fact is that there are unfortunately situations where the cop in question does not necessarily know the law. They think that they're entitled to certain things. If that's the case, don't resist. Do what they're saying, and then come back and fight back in court. Take their job. Make sure that individual never wears a badge again. I've seen viral videos where a blind man who is stopped for carrying a cane. In other words, one of these. By the cop because she thought it was a gun. He refused to give her his ID. It escalates that she calls in back up. Her supervisor that comes onto the scene backs her up because that's what we're trained to do. And ultimately he has to fight her in court because she was too prideful to just acknowledge, okay, I thought it was a gun, I'm sorry. I stopped you for thinking it was a gun. At this point, this was an unlawful unlawful arrest, and he had every right to take the next steps and take her job, which is exactly what happened. Okay, but here's the thing. Even though he had every right not to give her his ID, which is what escalated the situation because he knew his rights, she didn't. And she was being a prideful piece of shit. If he would have just complied, he would have probably went along his way. They would have let it go. He didn't have to. He could have still had her job and not spent a night in prison or a night in jail. Don't be an asshole. Even though the cop is an asshole, don't be an asshole. Do everything that the cop says. Don't panic. Let whatever is happening pass. And odds are very good that if you are not in the wrong, you will just go about your way with a little bit of time in your day eaten up. I cannot stress this enough. Virtually every police-involved shooting that happens to be involving a black man comes from the black man panicking because generations of his family told him that white cop is out to get him. No, that white cop is just out to do his job more times than not and come home to his family. If you start fighting, you start swinging at him, you start resisting arrest, you start being stupid, it escalates. Eventually, if it escalates enough, you will get shot. And that's a justifiable shooting. Okay? That is not bigotry. That is a cop doing his job, a cop defending himself, and a cop wanting to go home to his family. It doesn't matter about freaking race. It's the fact that he's human too. He's vulnerable. And you're here perpetuating the African American stereotype and just making every black man in America look bad. And you eventually get shot. I'm Anatoly Anatoly This is Patriots Mr. Eyes. Please, like, subscribe, live free, die well, and love your neighbor as Christ loved you. Peace out.